James Strong, Cody Tanner, hosts on the mic. About to dive deep, keep it live, that's right.
Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James Strong, joined once again by my co-host Cody Tanner. Cody, how are you on this glorious Sunday morning?
James, I am doing all right. We're living the dream. My body hurts, but that's okay. It's a good hurt. James, how are you?
Grow through pain sometimes, buddy. I'm doing good myself here. Got a crap load of cleaning and laundry done around here the last 2 days, so I feel a lot better about the situation here. And it's really fun watching college football all-star games. I enjoy the this time of year is so exciting to me to see all these young prospects and see how they're doing. But also it's kind of fun for me to see how we did the previous month in our show. You know, where are people listening from? Where are our top states? Where are our top countries? It is that time of year. Once again, we're going to tell you how the month of January went for us. Cody, do you want to do states or do you want to do countries?
James, I want to do states.
Sounds good.
Top state number one, per usual. Shocker, we know Pennsylvania download most shows. Number one, PA. Number two, Missouri.
That is
very interesting. Number two is Missouri. Number three, Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
Number four, Virginia. And number five, Ohio. I think this was the first month that neither of the two other states I lived in the past 2 years were not in the top five. So very interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. So big shout out to all the new listeners in Missouri and Louisiana specifically, because we didn't have a ton of those states previously, and now all of a sudden you're in the top five. So welcome to the show. Feel free to send us a message on Facebook or anywhere. Let us know how you found us. What do you like about the show? If you ever have any requests, anything you'd like us to talk about, we're always open to ideas like that. We're very, very much so big on involving our audience members. So top countries from last month. We actually had a ton. There was way more than just the top five, but I'm only going to list the top five. So obviously United States of America, number one. Number two was Canada, which is not abnormal. Number three, Switzerland, which is abnormal. Number four was Japan, and number five, Ukraine. Has to make you wonder if we've got some troops over there in Ukraine, even though we were told there are no troops over there.
Yeah. Or just, yeah. I don't know. I don't know who else would be there.
Embassy.
Yeah, maybe. We are going to break down the Senior Bowl that took place on Saturday night. We're recording Sunday morning. This show will probably be released on Monday for you guys, that just so you're like trying to understand, like maybe there's something big that happens today and we don't have it on the show. That's why. But we're going to break down the Senior Bowl. Before we do that, James, we want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, and that is the Edinburgh Hotel Bar. Supporters of the Steelers by the Lake podcast include the Edinburgh Hotel Bar, serving a variety of lunch and dinner items every day from their location at 100 Meadville Street in downtown Edinburgh. Information can be found at 814-734-5103 or online at edinburghhotelbar.com. The Edinburgh Hotel Bar, where you had me at hotel. So appreciate them. That is an awesome place. That's where I like to go watch the Steelers games. Big time Steelers fan, owns the bar. His name's Pat. Does an awesome job. Every now and then they play Renegade. It's a good time, good atmosphere, and good food. James, unfortunately, yesterday I was at the gym. Not unfortunately, I didn't go. But I did not get to watch this game. I'm going to ask you questions about this game because you watched it. You took notes. You did a lot of things. And unfortunately, listen, this is a shout out or an attack to the NCAA or whoever the frick does this, NFL Network. Create a highlight reel. Like, why I can't even find stats on this game. I know that stats aren't the end all be all of stuff like this, but I can't even find a full game highlight. Like, we're not talking about this game enough. It's crazy to me. Anyways, James, you're wearing a Mean Joe Green jersey. I feel like you're excited about D-line. Tell me about some D linemen. There's a guy with last name Jones.
Yes.
Pretty big
Savion.
dude. Tell me about him.
Savion Jones, talk about a disruptive player. Early in the game, you noticed that against the run, he'd make his guys miss or just real quick swim moves around him. He's 6'5", 289 pounds, so that prototypical height weight that Pittsburgh typically looks for in a 3-4 defensive end. 33.5-inch long arms, which is good length, not fantastic, but it's not below that mark. You're looking for typically at least 33-inch on offensive tackles, defensive linemen, edge rushers, those kind of players, right? Yep. So good length. As the game went on, he became more disruptive rushing the passer. So you got to see him really get after the quarterback, extremely quick for a 290-pound dude. And I called him a plus pass rusher, which means you're getting a decent amount of pass rush out of him. Didn't see as much of him with like bull rushes per se, but guys just couldn't stay in front of him. And there were some top-tier talent offensive linemen that he's going against, guys expected to be first, second, third-round picks. And not too many people could block him. So very, very disruptive game for Savion Jones. And I think someone that should absolutely be on the radar for Pittsburgh. This might be a guy you could steal in the second or third round and maybe address something else in the first round. So something that we should keep in mind as we start seeing mock drafts in Pittsburgh, really looking at the defensive line. This draft class is just loaded on the defensive front. This is a great opportunity for Pittsburgh to kind of do what they did last year, where we had a lot of holes in the offensive line. So we addressed it. Offensive tackle in the first round, center in the second round, guard in the fourth round with Mason McCormick, I believe. Yeah. I think this is an opportunity to do a similar thing this year and maybe take 2 defensive linemen in the first 4 rounds and really reload this group. We've been taking shots here and there, and none of them have been working out. Keanu Benton's been the best of all of them, and he hasn't really splashed that much. It's time to give him some help, time to give Cam Hayward some reinforcements. And this would be a really nice addition to the room. Another guy from Toledo, there's been a lot of talk about him lately, on Pittsburgh really keeping a close eye on him, especially through practices. Darius Alexander, another defensive lineman, 6'3" and 5'8", 304 pounds, so similar size, 34-inch long arms. Again, very disruptive, good stack and shed, good ability to push the pocket and get after the quarterback some. So another guy that you could put in that 3-4 end, can kick him inside in pass rush situations as your nickel defensive lineman and can hold up against the run. So that's 2 great options right out of the gate that really had fantastic games, in my opinion. And you're starting to build a little bit of a list here. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see Shamar Stewart in this game. He practiced very well and then opted not to play in the game. You had a few of those for the Senior Bowl, unfortunately. I get the concern of being injured and how that could hurt your draft stock. So I kind of get why some of these guys opted out. But we saw a lot of height weight guys that really fit what you should be looking for. A big difference from this game to the Shrine Bowl, in my opinion, was the quarterback play, Cody. And I thought that everyone in this game looked drastically better other than one guy. Jalen Milroe had a poor performance in this game. Missing guys, throwing it at their feet, not good pocket presence. He didn't get a chance really to show his athleticism, and when he tried to, people ran him down. So it wasn't a great performance for Jalen Milroe. He was thought by many to be the number 3 quarterback in this class, and I think that the way some of these other kids played, they probably narrowed the gap a bit. First quarterback in the game was Dylan Gabriel. He's 5'10 and a half, 202 pounds, a small guy, kind of like what you've got in the quarterback out there in Arizona, Kyler Murray. Very similar stature kind of guy. But a live arm, man. He threw it all over the place. They went right down the field on the first drive and got a touchdown and got the 2-point conversion. It looked like a professional offense the way they moved the ball, man. So he was very impressive in my opinion. A couple other quarterbacks later in the game really, really popped out. Taylor Elgersmo, just a real tall guy, 6'4" and 3/8, 216, had a very live arm. His first pass was a 43-yard absolute dime down the field for a big completion play. And just kind of had a lot of accurate passes as the game went on. Showed a little bit of shiftiness in the pocket. He's not a fast dude, but he has that ability to take a step or two one way or another and have a guy slide right off of him. So that was pretty impressive in my opinion. Seth Hennigan ended up being the quarterback that was like the highest completion percentage. At one point in time, he was 8 for 9 in a game. And I don't know if he missed any passes after that. He was very impressive also with his accuracy and movement skills within the pocket. Not looking to scramble, but 6'3" and an eighth, 213 pounds. And when the game was on the line, he drove his team down the field, threw a game-winning touchdown pass to wide receiver Jack Betch, and we're going to talk about Jack Betch. He's one of the wide receivers that was highlighted in this game. And some off-the-field stuff, too, that if you didn't know about, makes it even more heartwarming that he had the game-winning touchdown catch. But Seth, I thought, did himself a lot of favors in this game, too. And some of these other quarterbacks, Tyler Shough, it's spelled Shough, but pronounced Shock. He's 6'4" and 7/8, 224 pounds. I thought he had a pretty live arm and looked pretty good. Riley Leonard, a little bit up and down in the game, but more good than bad. And Jackson Dart didn't look too bad in this game either. So I thought that the quarterbacks represented in this game really painted a picture on those mid-round guys. A lot of these guys probably going to be available in like the 3rd to 5th round, where you might be able to take a flyer on one of these guys. It's funny that I'm going to kind of go back on what I said just last show, that the quarterback class didn't look that good, and I don't know that I would take a flyer. I might take a flyer on a lot of these guys as a mid-round shot. You know, if one of these guys is available in the 4th or 5th round, I'd consider it as a guy to try to sit and develop behind Justin Fields or Russell Wilson, whichever one of those you go with, which that seems like that's the direction Pittsburgh's leaning towards at this stage.
Yep. Yeah, very interesting. I got to see a little bit of highlights from the quarterback play. Drastically day and night difference between the guys in this Senior Bowl versus the East West Shrine game, which is unfortunate. But again, like you said, it's not a deep class. It's not. I mean, we now know that there's a little bit more depth in the first few rounds. But you probably not getting a guy of the future in the late in the 7th or late in the 6th or anything like that, but maybe a 5th rounder. We will see what happens. James, do you want to go and talk about Jack or not yet?
Sure. Let's cover the wide receivers. So Jack Betch early on in the game showed his ability to win jump balls and contested catches. He's a bigger wide receiver, 6'1" and a quarter, 212 pounds. A lot of people compared him to like a Drake London type, where he's not super fast, but very reliable hands, very good at the point of catch in contested catch situations. When the game was on the line, he's the guy they went to. He caught the ball. He made sure he ended up in the end zone. In just a little over a month ago, I understand his brother was a victim in the terror attack down in New Orleans, lost his life. So they actually had his old jersey number 7 on the back of all their helmets, and Jack Betch wore number 7 instead of his normal jersey number to honor his brother, and then got the game-winning touchdown catch. If that doesn't bring a tear to your eye a little bit, man, it's okay to be emotional. Trust me, man. I almost cried when I saw it happen live, and I'm tearing up a little bit right now thinking about how he won it for his brother in honor of him. So very cool moment, but a high-quality receiver. If you're looking for a guy who can honestly, like the Van Jefferson role from last year, where you really don't throw it to him that much, you just need a big guy who can block and catch the ball when it's thrown to him, he'd be an upgrade over Van Jefferson. I don't think he'll be a high-round pick, though. So he was the wide receiver really that jumped out the most to me. There were some other guys that had some nice catches here and there. Jaden Higgins had a decent day. He's almost 6'4", 217 pounds. So that's something noteworthy. Xavier Restrepo popped a few times as well. He's 5'9", 200 pounds. And then late in the game, Isaac Tesla. There's 2 A's, so it's not Tesla, it's Tesla. 6'2" and a half, 6'2" and 7/8, 212 pounds. Another big-bodied dude. So there were some decent quality route running, some nice catches in this game. Not too many of a one particular guy jumping out a ton, but a lot of guys I felt like put good performances on paper for us.
Yep. Yeah. James, you talked about Landon Jackson already, correct?
Not yet, no, but I was
Okay.
thinking let's get the running backs
Out of the way.
stick to the offensive side before we go back to the defense.
Yeah, let's do it. Finish up the running back, and then you can also talk to tight end as well.
Okay, so one of the feature backs in this game, Trevor Etienne, who is the younger brother of Travis Etienne, he had a good game, but didn't really get a chance to break out in any long runs or really show a lot of his shiftiness. Ollie Gordon was kind of a workhorse in this game. He's 6'1", 233 pounds, and he ran exactly like what you would think a 6'1", 233-pound guy would run like. So he ran very hard. He got yards after contact. He didn't show a lot of speed or wiggle. A very Najee Harris type back, except I wouldn't expect him to go in the first round like Najee did. So a dependable workhorse kind of guy. But the most exciting one in this game was R.J. Harvey. R.J. Harvey is 5'7" 3/4, 207 pounds, not 70. That would be enormous. And he was very, very, very quick. Good change of direction. Acceleration was a real plus, and good top end speed too. If you're looking for a guy that can stretch the field, get those outside toss runs that Pittsburgh's talking about, wanting a bigger emphasis on, that's a guy that can do it for you. So definitely someone who caught my attention in this game, and should be someone that you'd be keeping an eye on as a nice change of pace and fast back coming out of the backfield.
Yep. Tight end. Let's talk about CJ Dupree.
CJ Dupree with a nice catch near the end of the game, just in a contested situation. He caught it over the middle. He got blasted right away, hung on to it like it was no big deal. 6'4.5". He's 260 pounds, a bigger guy, not a real fast guy. But there is a pretty decent group of tight ends here. They just didn't get the ball a ton in this game to really show off. Hall of Famer Jason Taylor's son is in this class, Mason Taylor. He's almost 6'5", 250 pounds with 32 7/8 inch long arms. He's someone to keep an eye on. Harold Fannin Jr. is the number 2 tight end in most people's opinion, more of a move guy at 6'3", 238, but good length with 33 1/8 inch long arms. And a nice all-around player, Elijah Arroyo, showed some very good movement abilities, very quick, good change of direction. He is 6'4.5", 251 with 33 1/8 inch long arms. So there's a lot of dudes in this class who fit that height, weight, length that you're looking for in a tight end who can hold up on the edge and block. So I think you definitely have some options in this group of guys where you might be able to take a shot on one of these guys in the mid rounds, maybe early day 3.
Yeah. And listen, you're talking about these tight ends being able to block. Let's talk about the guys that are always blocking. Offensive guard Gray Zabel, North Dakota State.
Yep.
Talk about him.
Another North Dakota State kid. Seems like we're getting one almost every year now. And a stout one at that. He actually showed some versatility and played a little bit of center later on in the game. Started off at left guard, so that works well for his draft stock. Kind of reminds you of Cody Mock a couple years ago, where Cody played all over the offensive line and got an opportunity to play a little bit of tackle as well. He didn't play tackle, but at 6'5", 316 and 32 1/4 inch long arms, keep him inside. That doesn't have the length that you want out at tackle, but good movement skills. I was impressed with his ability to get down the field and seal a guy instead of trying to pancake him. There was a run to the left side where he got out there, and the timing was just perfect. Like the linebacker was squared up, ready to make the tackle, and here he comes. And he didn't like obliterate him and pancake him. He just walled him off, stayed in front of him, and made sure he couldn't make the play. And the running back was like right behind him. So like he's coming here to wall the guy off, running back straight behind him, and gets a nice run out of it because of his timing and execution and technique. So that's a real guy that could be a starter for somebody pretty early on in his career. Maybe even a second, third round kind of dude there. Offensive tackle Anthony Belden is just a mountain. He's one of those dudes that doesn't look like he should be able to move fast, but does, which is kind of crazy. He's 6'5" 3/8", 345 pounds. and very early in the game, showed up on like a screenplay or something where he's just running 10, 20, that was probably 20 plus yards down the field, chasing after defensive backs, trying to get that extra block to spring his guy and looking very athletic doing it. But then you see him standing still and he's just a wide dude, but very impressive with how quick he is and how high motor he is. So somebody that would kind of jump out to me, especially if you're looking to build the depth on your offensive line unit. I mean, let's say Pittsburgh just isn't comfortable with Broderick Jones. This is somebody maybe you could get in the second or third round at offensive tackle and bolster that depth and maybe have another guy in case it doesn't work out with Broderick.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Again, it's one of those things where you're not super excited about it due to the fact that it's, offensive linemen. They don't typically get stats or awards or anything like that, but it's something that Pittsburgh needs drastically and needs some depth. So I'm right there with you. Let's bounce back over to the defensive side, talk Landon Jackson, the defensive edge rusher, 6'5" and a half, 273 with 33 and 5/8 inch long arms. James, what'd you see out of him?
He was just tough for these guys to block in pass rushing situations. That's his specialty. He's got a very quick first step and a very good ability to dip and rip and get underneath that tackle as he's bending the edge. So doesn't really fit Pittsburgh's scheme per se, and I think he's probably going to be a higher pick than Pittsburgh would be willing to take on an edge guy. But you can't really talk about this game without talking about how impressive he was because he was disruptive. He got after the quarterback, got him to the ground a number of times, and I think he had a strip sack in this game too, if I recall correctly. Oh, yeah. Yeah, in this. Yep. Just, yeah, an impressive guy, but that kind of length, that in size, that's typically a 4-3 defensive end instead of a 3-4 outside linebacker.
ESPN has him listed at 6'7", so I was a little concerned.
Yeah, his official weigh-ins and all these heights and weights that I'm giving you are the official Senior Bowl weigh-ins that I got from the 33rd team, so it is definitely accurate.
He did have both of the past 2 years in college. He's only played in college 3 years. In each of his last 2 years, 6.5 sacks on the year, and last year he had a forced fumble and fumble recovery. So definitely an agile and quick guy getting around the edge and getting those sacks. James, let's bounce over and talk safeties. You got two safeties here. Dan Jackson, let's talk about him first. And what did you see from him?
Yeah, Dan Jackson was just one of those dudes that was just hitting people everywhere. All game long, making clutch plays and disrupting, like hitting guys right as the ball got there so that the ball would squirm out. So you don't necessarily get credit for a pass breakup in that situation, but I feel like you should when your hit is timed that perfectly. A decent sized guy at 5'11 and 3/4, 194 pounds, but he's a Georgia player, right? So he's played against top tier competition. He's used to it. That's not going to be anything that's new to him. So he's somebody you could add to the room who would not be a stranger to the physicality of the play or the level of competition. He could compete with your room right away. Then the other one that really popped out in this game, Sebastian Castro. Sebastian was just all over the place in this game, making tackles, getting pass breakups, and really bringing the wood when he hit people too. When you hear that, you're talking about like somebody really hitting them hard. Castro hit people as if he was a lot bigger than 5'11", 202, but that's what his official weigh-in was. So a very impressive game from him as well. And I think he only helped himself with his stock in this game.
Yeah, Sebastian Castro, another Iowa Hawkeyes guy. So played with Cooper DeJean. So
and Riley Moss and all the other guys that have been going pro lately from there.
So would love to see us get another corner. Realistically, I mean, every position we've talked about, Pittsburgh needs in one way, shape, or form. Going to be very excited to see how this draft goes. If you guys saw anything from the games, or if you guys have any college players you want us to look at or look into or show highlights of, please let us know, message us, or comment on the YouTube video if you're watching on YouTube. That's going to wrap up today's show talking about this Senior Bowl. If you guys want, well, more than likely we're going to be going live for the draft. That's something that James and I have talked about, going live on YouTube for the first round of the draft, not posting that as a podcast. Obviously, the whole first round as an audio would not be a fun time for a podcast, but that is something we're looking at doing, just to put that on the radar for you guys. We appreciate you guys being here, watching and listening. If you're on YouTube, make sure to like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe, ring the bell. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. Don't forget the 5-star reviews and Apple Podcasts. And until next time, this is your host, James and Cody, signing off.
Peace.
Steelers.